All right, fellas, let's go ahead and follow up on our last topic. Jordan's Bulls are widely regarded as the greatest NBA dynasty, 6 titles in 6 years, with a year off just to let someone else have fun. But since we've seen a few other teams put together some spectacular runs of their own, you have Coach Pop Spurs, Kobe's Laker teams, the quote super team in Miami, and of course, more recently, the Warriors streak of dominance. So, Jay, after the last dance, which NBA dynasty is the most impressive to you?
Lot of good choices here. You think about how many teams have won multiple titles since the Bulls won their last title. You got the Lakers three-peated once. Then Kobe had his two titles without Shaq. The Miami Heat had their stretch where they went to four straight NBA Finals and won two in a row. And of course, the Warriors recently. That's an easy one to look to. I think it's real easy to overlook the San Antonio Spurs and their consistency, their consistent greatness over the past from their first title up until the past couple of years when they've slowly been on a little bit of a decline since the departure of Kawhi Leonard. But from 1997-98, these guys won at least 50 games every season for 20 years. And then you add on the 5 NBA titles that they won over a 15-year stretch. I get it. They didn't win. They never won back to back, but they did have a stretch where they won 3 of 5. And just you think about it, from the first championship they won, uh, that was more centered on the big fellas, Tim Duncan and David Robinson, the Twin Towers. And then the David Robinson, he retired. And then the next 3 titles, it was a little big three centric with Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Tim Duncan. And then that last title, you still had Duncan, but he was in the last few years of his career. And the same can be said of Tony Parker and Ginobili. And you had a young Kawhi Leonard who was showing you what he could do, and at the time had not fully developed into the player he is today, but still put up a whale of an NBA Finals performance several years ago. So I'm just looking at it to sustain that excellence for so long and be that consistent. Also, out of those 20 seasons where they won at least 50 games, only 4 times did they not make it out of the first round. So not only are you consistent in making it to the playoffs, you're having extended runs more often than not. I find that remarkably impressive. And also think about this. When you talk about those other dynasties, you talk about Shaq and Kobe, you talk about LeBron and Dwayne Wade, you talk about Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. You think about all those teams and the talent that those teams possess. And from a talent perspective, it just doesn't seem like the Spurs would measure up. You think about Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. I mean, they made it work, but they were never really all that flashy. Tim Duncan, the big fundamental. Ginobili was a whale of a good time to watch, and Tony Parker, his speed and ability to, always contort himself in the paint was a great thing to watch. But they were never a real sexy team. They never you really didn't see a whole lot of highlight reel plays. But it was all about the fundamentals. It was all about playing team basketball. And you think about how they adapted with time. Early on, for many years, half court basketball, playing real solid defense. And then as time went along and as the game changed, the Spurs changed with the game. In their last title, they became, one of the better three-point shooting teams in the league with, the likes of Danny Green and, Patty Mills, those guys. So I take all those things in consideration. And although I would probably say out of all those dynasties and back-to-backs I'm talking about, I would consider the Spurs like the lesser talented group. That that fact makes their success more impressive to me.
Well, yeah, the Spurs is definitely a good choice. I can't, argue with the facts that he laid out. But here's the deal: when I think about dynasties, I always think about what was the period of time. And listen, you cannot point at another period of time in the NBA and tell me they were more talented then than they are now. The Golden State Warriors, which they're a reigning dynasty because they're still going. Listen, they're playing better talent now than the Spurs played during their dynasty, than the Bulls played during their dynasty, than the Lakers played during their dynasty. Whatever dynasty you can give me, the athleticism that you have to deal with in today's game is far more greater, and this is opinion, far more greater now than it was back in the day. And listen, this Golden State team changed the way we look at basketball. It's kind of like what the Bulls did in the 90s. They changed the way the game was played. This is what Golden State did. They changed the way the game was played. Before Golden State came along, before this team came along, you had a lot of teams that were still built inside out. You can run your offense through the center, no problem. Your best player can be a power forward. You had no problem. You still could win that way. We've seen it with the Kobe, Shaq version of the Lakers dynasty. Shaq was the man. He dominated the NBA. Try that now. See how that work out for you. You're playing in the NBA where you have to be able to shoot. Why is that a big deal now? Because one, Steph Curry. Believe it or not, I know it was shooters before Steph Curry. I got that. But it's never been a shooter on the level of Steph Curry. Then all of a sudden, he get drafted around the same time with his splash brother, Klay Thompson. I mean, my God, like these two dudes were so good that every other team, all 29 other NBA teams said, listen, we got to go get some guys that shoot. Matter of fact, if our center can't shoot, get him out of here too. We need a center that can shoot as well. Like, and like, hey, man, what do you mean? Since when do the five got to shoot? Now, do you not see them boys over there? Do you not see what they're doing? They throw Iguodala in there at the five, and it's over. Like he starts shooting threes, or maybe play with Draymond at the five. So listen, I have to go with Golden State. Is it recent bias? Yeah, you can say that. But at the end of the day, if you just go off of the dynasties that no crap just changed the way you look at the NBA, Golden State is right up there at the top. I mean, tell me the last time you looked at a basketball game and didn't worry about how many three-pointers was taken, make, or miss. Like, that's what you're looking at now. That's what you're looking for. That's why players like Trae Young exist now. Hey, my team might suck. I might not be able to give you anything else, but I'm going to give you assists, and I'm going to shoot it from my car. That's what it is. And now he a second-year all-NBA player, presumably once those teams come out. I'm pretty sure he's going to be somewhere in there, first-time All-Star, because that's what it is about. And listen, this is the reigning dynasty, meaning, yes, they lost last year, but they was in it. I mean, listen, they won three of the last 5. The other 2 that they lost, they had just as much of a chance to win it as the other team that they played. We know this year was a down year. They wasn't going to make the playoffs. We seen that coming. But don't we think they're going to be there again next year and the year after and for the foreseeable future if these guys stay healthy? So things are still rolling. They need, one more piece? They got Andrew Wiggins to kind of glue up a little more stuff, and they get one more piece. They get a 5 or something that can actually, come to the party when it comes to shooting mid-range and threes. We'll see them again in the near future. So, yeah, I went with the Golden State Warriors from 2014 to present.
That's a great point, especially if you take into consideration their dynasty may not exactly be over.
Yeah. Don't forget they also get a lottery pick this year. So, yeah, have fun with that. I was close to picking Golden State as well. When I thought about this, really the Spurs and the Warriors are the 2 teams that most came to mind to me. The Warriors, like you said, Drake, they got a lot of stuff going for them. I like that. Not only the way they built their team was impressive. It was built through the draft. They found these guys, some guys that were great talents, but a lot of teams had already passed on them. None of these guys were first overall picks. I mean, Curry wasn't a first overall pick. Clay wasn't a first overall pick, and yet the team said, no, we see something in these guys. They put together this roster. They had a 73-win season, right? Like y'all said, 3 of the last 4 championships recently. But the 2 things that I think just kind of pushed them down for me. One is the fact that LeBron went in there and beat them. LeBron took a Cavaliers team and went in there and they beat that 73-win team. As long as I live, I'll never forget that. I mean, as long as I live. And the addition of Kevin Durant, man, it feels like there's some kind of little asterisk next to it. They had that weird loophole with the contracts where, they had enough money to just throw him on there for a year or 2. And I would always wanted to see if they would have been as successful, if they would have won those 2 chips without him. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I mean, we'll never know. It's a great debate. It's a great food for thought thing, but you'll never know. But it just felt like with Kevin Durant on that roster, a roster that already won 73 games, it just, I don't know, man. It feels like a little bit of an asterisk. But again, that horse has been beaten to death. I don't want to go too far down that road. But I do agree. If they are able to come back this next year, retool, revamp after a down year, and win some more, it's going to be really hard to not look at this run if you consider the next 2 or 3 years and go, man, was that not the most dominating team for the stretch of time they played? It would be hard to think of another team. But yeah, I do lean with Jay here just because of, man, the excellence that the Spurs have been doing this since the late 80s. I mean, this isn't just like the late to mid 90s. The only year they missed the playoffs was 96, and that got him Greg Popovich, and that got him Tim Duncan. So did they even lose that year? I mean, I don't know. Depends on how you want to call it. But, you had the 03, 05, 07. You had Kawhi in 14. And you have to think about it from this perspective of the league's not built for this. The leagues are built in the age of lottery drafts and salary caps. Teams are simply not supposed to sustain this for this long. It's supposed to be, you get your guy, you go on a nice run, you put a few pieces around him, then it all falls apart, and you restart. They haven't done that. And that requires you finding all the right players, making all the right moves. It's a chess game that goes so far beyond just the things on the surface. All your role players have to be excellent. You have to have the right contract management. You have to keep these people happy. They're very Patriots-esque in how their locker room is run and how they don't have off-the-field issues. They don't have players beefing. We ever see Duncan and Parker getting into it with each other? Like, no, we never saw that. They were just one big happy family, So that, to me, is almost as impressive as just, I hit on a few draft picks, and now our team's really good for a while. But to keep that excellence running 20, 30-plus years, to me, that is beyond impressive. So I do lean with the Spurs, but man, the Warriors do have a chance, in my opinion, to change that over the next 2 or 3 years if they get back to it.
Wait. So I just want to make sure I heard you right. So you said hitting on because they hit on draft picks. It is the Spurs is more, but wasn't Tim Duncan a draft pick?
No, he was. But I guess I mean like your Kobe Bryants and your Chris. I guess it's like what Jay was talking about. When we talk about Duncan, he gets viewed a little different. Like I never feel like he was like that true superstar. He wasn't. I guess the flash wasn't there, but it was more the fundamentals and always doing the right thing and making the right play. So I just mean like in the terms of we hit this absolute otherworldly talent. And now we're going to win a couple championships, and then it all kind of falls apart. I mean, it's more. They were more sustained in their success.
Did he go number 1 overall?
He did, and to that point, he went number 1 overall. And Tim Duncan was a superstar. Let's get that point. Let's get that point addressed. But when you talk about superstars, and you can, I don't know if you may go all the way through NBA history, at least in the past 20 years. There probably isn't a less interesting superstar than Tim Duncan. Think about the way he played the game. Think about his personality. Think about even his facial expression. It never changed on the basketball court. And like
maybe that's where Kawhi got it from.
It could be, but in that sense, it just makes them a little less interesting as a team. I'm giving that, and to their overall talent, I don't think they measure up against the Golden State Warriors or the Heat or either of the Laker dynasties, the Kobe's back-to-back titles and Kobe and Shaq's back-to-back titles, or their 3 straight titles rather. But it's a great conversation. It's just how we look at it. We look at it a little bit differently. You're with the Warriors, and back to the Warriors real quick because I don't want to undersell them. And from a talent perspective, when they got Kevin Durant, that turned into, I don't think the NBA has ever seen a greater collection of talent. But to me, that's also a strike against them because once they got KD, it became uninteresting to me. It felt watered down. It felt too easy. It felt like the regular season, there was no need to even watch. There was those seasons where I didn't even feel like it was even worth watching consistently until the Western Conference Finals when they got up against the Houston Rockets, because it felt like almost that they were playing in a league of their own. That's an argument for them, but you can also phrase it against them a little bit too. It just depends on how you look at it.
Well, yeah, because that's what I was going to say. Well, like it's like you're moving the goalpost because Cody said that, all right, well, I'm gonna knock them for going 7-3-9 and losing to LeBron in the finals. And let's be honest here, LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, that ain't no, that's not roadkill. You know what I mean? But then to say I'm also gonna knock them because they assembled a team so good to make it to the finals. So I feel like I said, I'm more for the most talent that's on there, the most talent you beat. That's why I don't have a problem with the Spurs because, like you said, the Spurs' reign was so long. They beat talented teams. Like, I can't take nothing away from those teams they beat in the finals. Those are good teams. I'm just saying now in this day, you play more. They bigger, they're faster, they're more athletic. You have to deal with more. That everybody can shoot now, even the GM. So that's why, like, I just find it kind of unfair to say, all right, well, we're going to ding them for getting Kevin Durant. We're going to ding them for losing. What, do anybody else get dinged for losing?
Yeah,
The Spurs lost plenty of times. And
yeah.
it was sometimes they was the best defensive team in the NBA. Why did they lose?
Yeah. And that's a right point. And I don't hold the that 3-1 series lead. I don't hold it against them all that much. I mean, you also got to give credit to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They made it happen. I would just say that collection of talent that they had, it's almost like, how could you ever lose? Like, you were so great. But let's be real. There's also it's a fine line. We're splitting hairs right here. But they're also, think about this. They're also maybe Draymond Green, if he keeps his head, doesn't get suspended, and then a couple of injuries a couple of years ago, they're really, really close to having 5 straight titles. And then there's no doubt about it, greatest dynasty we've ever seen.
Yeah, I guess my last point on that one was not so much that they lost to the Cavs. Again, it was the manner of the 3-1 lead that they blew. That was the year they won 73 games. They broke the NBA record. I think that was also Curry's unanimous MVP year, wasn't it? It just felt like it was such a letdown for them to lose, in the manner in which they did. And then to follow that up with going out and adding the second best player on planet Earth to their roster. It just is like really? Are we really doing this? Like, okay. But and my point about Tim Duncan, I think what I'm trying to get at is if you extracted Tim Duncan from the Spurs, they would still have been an excellent team that would have made a lot of playoffs. I don't know, they would have won all those titles. They would have still probably made the playoffs. If you extract like Kobe from some of those teams or LeBron from some of those teams, they probably we would maybe hit harder than if the Spurs did. It's not really to marginalize Duncan. I feel like he was a different kind of superstar than we've seen. And maybe it wasn't like, he didn't feel like the team was so completely built around him. It just felt like the teams were just built a little different in that regard. So maybe that was kind of where I was going with that. But yeah, y'all are both right. We're really close in these teams. You could really go either way. It depends what you value. And Drake's absolutely right that doing what Golden State's doing right now in this day and age is very impressive in its own right.